Hey guys, this video is going to be a little different compared to my usual stuff. I'm planning to cover different martial arts that I like in between my usual manga reviews, just to add some variety. Since CQC was one of my main inspirations to learn judo, I thought I'd pay it some respects first. I'm also going to go on a bunch of tangents about my other inspirations here. First off, the Phantom Pain is by far the most realistic rendition of CQC. It's basically judo, at least according to the Phantom Pain's version. The throw animations are just 3 main moves, 2 major throws and 1 foot sweep. We've got Osorogari, Ogoshi, and what looks like Deashi Barai. These are all white belt throws, and you can learn them in your first month or 2. You might be asking about Snake's strikes. There are punches and low kicks, so it's basically Muay Thai. He does have a really clean corkscrew punch, so that's boxing. CQC is a mix of a lot of stuff, but in my opinion, its base absolutely is judo. The main form of attacking is standing throws and chokes. There is one more art that could serve as real-life CQC. It's called Sambo. Sambo is basically judo with kickboxing added into the system. You use punches and kicks as entries into grappling range, and once your opponent is overwhelmed by strikes, you can finish with a big throw. John Wick was another big reason that I switched into judo. According to the 3rd movie though, he learned Sambo, but to me that doesn't really matter. Sambo was created by the Russians who took major influence from judo. Look at the Sambo uniform, it's literally just a gi jacket with shorts instead of pants. I always found the version of Batman that we see in The Dark Knight Returns to be really cool. The fight between him and the mutant leader is one of my favorites, just because it's got some really clean boxing in it, and I like the fact that he's like a tank of a human that's retained a lot of his skills in his old age. There's also the Talon fight with a lot more karate influences, plus another one I was a big fan of was the one between him and Shredder in the TMNT crossover. That had some nice throws. I also really like the Matt Reeves version of Batman. I heard they drew inspiration from Salat for the movie, but it just looks like dirty boxing combined with some Muay Thai. And there's going to be a lot of crossover between effective martial arts. There are only so many ways you can attack someone. I'm pretty sure that so far, the Robert Pattinson Batman hasn't hinted at learning from Kirigi or the other masters he learned from in the comics. So far, all we know is that he learned from Alfred. I don't really mind it for this rendition of Batman, considering his suit is based on Russian diving suits and has other elements based on real-world military or SWAT gear. In terms of training anything at all, whether it's a physical, mental, or spiritual skill, I think Batman is one of the most inspirational characters ever conceived. Honestly, you could make a whole movie around Bruce Wayne before he ever turns into Batman. I read The Knight precisely because that was the idea behind this miniseries, but it still felt like there was something missing. Honestly, it felt overcrowded. I hope that in the Batman 2 there's a flashback scene or 2 to Bruce Wayne's time abroad. One of my favorite parts of the Christopher Nolan trilogy is the Ra's al Ghul training scene in Batman Begins. I also like just Spartans in general, but those guys don't really need extensive martial arts. They're already crazy fast, have bullet time level reaction speeds, and their armor and shielding lets them no-diff regular humans. Jerome in Halo Wars 2 is probably the most accurate portrayal of a Spartan that I've seen so far. If I had to give Spartans a style, it would just be regular military combatives. Whatever the US military uses in real life is close enough. It's still pretty shocking that the most in-depth look we've had was that awful fight between Chief and Locke in Halo 5. You know what a real fight between Spartans kind of looks like? You won't find it in Halo. You'll find it in Captain America. This specific chase scene is exactly how I think super soldiers should be moving. The Spartans are almost like different beings altogether post-augmentation. Next up is the main character of Splinter Cell, Sam Fisher. There was a time I would have asked for a new Splinter Cell game, but given Ubisoft's recent track record, I don't think so. The franchise is fine where it is, and honestly, I think Conviction was a nice place to really end Sam's story. Even though canonically Blacklist takes place last in the timeline, it feels like it belongs somewhere earlier in the timeline. Plus, after everything that happens in Conviction, I doubt Sam would really want to go back out there. Now let's look at how he actually fights. Fisher was an extremely decorated Navy SEAL, and he participated in the Gulf War and in Desert Storm. Then he joined 3rd Echelon. His style is basically whatever the SEALs are trained in. At least in terms of barehanded stuff, it's very simple. Lots of clean punches, kicks. He takes elements from boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu. There's some basic weapon usage in there, so I'd say Krav Maga. A lot of the basic melee stuff has him using the gun as a blunt weapon. I'm not sure if you would classify that as McMap or military martial arts, but I guess it counts. During and after Blacklist, his new signature weapon is a karambit. His style has switched, at least in terms of direct combat, into Kali, or Filipino martial arts in general. I remember there was a Splinter Cell movie in the works, but I think it got cancelled, so that kinda sucks. This movie called Extraction has a really cool karambit fight scene, and it kinda gave me an idea of what a fight with Sam would look like, in a way that's not as exaggerated as, say, the CGI trailers that we see. Sam in Splinter Cell Blacklist has non-lethal and lethal takedown options. Apparently one of Sam's main fighting styles in Blacklist is Sistema. The most popular form of Sistema was created by two men, Mikhail Ryabko and Vladimir Vasiliev. It's supposed to be a self-defense system based around three main principles: relaxation, natural movement, and adaptability. To me, it's sort of weird. Lots of branches, and some are more legit than others. From this takedown footage, the idea behind Sistema seems to be flow. You flow from regular movement into attacks and back out. Even if the Sistema itself is completely fake and just there to look cool, there are other takedowns that are more legit. There's still some judo influence here, that's an Osotogari. The Sistema was mostly for non-lethal, then you get into Kali and Filipino martial arts for all the knife stuff. I personally haven't taken any classes on Kali or Eskrima, but none of this stuff looks too ridiculous, especially when you consider that Sam's whole thing is being invisible. One thing I really like about the Blacklist takedowns is that they share the same core. Like for these takedowns right now, they're almost the exact same as the non-lethal versions, it's just that Sam is holding a knife. A lot of these military martial arts like Krav Maga or Sistema are designed to teach you a mentality more than anything else. Like Sistema is meant to show you economy of movement, and Krav Maga is supposed to make you, let's say, a really explosive fighter with an aggressive mentality. Sam Fisher himself is a spy, so his skill set is actually a little more catered towards sneaking around and close quarters combat, but in general, you're not going to find any equalizer style special moves if you just go and take a military combatives course. Go to an MMA gym because they actually specialize in hand-to-hand combat, that's their thing. I've noticed that stealth games in general kind of have a cult following, they're nowhere near as popular as other genres. Metal Gear has gained some popularity, especially with the Revengeance, but honestly I think they should make more espionage or stealth games. They've been missing for almost more than a decade now. Another reason I really like Splinter Cell as a franchise and Sam Fisher as a character is because he's willing to do the little things to help people out here and there. Like he'll go out of his way to save innocent people. A lot of the time these good deeds that he does explicitly put the mission or the overall objective in danger. It makes things worse, but he does it anyway. Speaking of Tom Clancy stories, he wrote most of his stories while he was working as a salesman. He just did it in his spare time. And sometimes his stories would get so close to the truth that a lot of people either assumed he was ex-military or that he was leaking or somehow got access to leaked classified documents. The further back you go in properties based on Tom Clancy's works, the more plausible they seem, a little more close to reality. Rainbow Six is a really good example of this effect, where the games get more and more insane over time. Splinter Cells as a unit could theoretically exist. They're really just operatives that sneak into areas, gather key intelligence, and sneak back out. Splinter Cells are just like the classic rendition of spies, it's just that they have bleeding edge tech to help them out. And what's crazy is that Tom Clancy still tried to go for more realism. Originally, he wasn't a fan of the goggles, because in real life, it would have tons of issues with size and with overall cost. They'd be super expensive, and don't forget that even in today's day and age, night vision or thermal vision still has really bulky goggles. Finally, we have Goku. His style is very traditional, very high-flying karate type stuff. The better or more detailed stuff, in my opinion, is actually further back in the series. The older movies like World's Strongest and a lot of the pre-Super Saiyan stuff has him really showing his prowess. To put it simply, Goku is basically a god-tier striker, especially when the anime or manga takes the time to highlight what he can actually do. This one move from the Goku vs Janemba fight has always stood out to me. The amount of strength and control you'd need to do this is insane. If you've ever seen people try that one Baki calisthenics move, imagine how difficult it is to not only take all of your weight and put it on your wrist, move it, and then kick from there. It might be the lack of detailed choreography, but skills-wise, Goku's kind of underrated. So these are just all the main influences and inspirations for me in real life. I thought I'd talk about their fighting styles, and just random stuff in general. Despite my base being boxing for a few years now, I love judo so far. There's nothing like it. Standing grappling, so it's not totally foreign to me, but it's also given me a lot more confidence for true close-range fighting. I disagree with the saying every fight it goes to the ground, it doesn't, but I do think every fight gets into grappling range. So it's an absolute necessity to know even a little bit. My next one will probably be my usual stuff. I hope you all enjoyed this. Let me know what some of your favorite characters are. They don't have to be from manga or anime, it can be anyone. It's a little more random, a little more unplanned. So that's all. See you guys next time, and I hope to see all your comments, hope to start a good discussion.